everybody. We are the Unwound podcast. We got Tara and Jared Evans here at the Boots for Troops concert and the Country Music Festival. We're super excited to be here. And with us is Cody Hibbard, who goes on here in a little bit. Cody, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Doing good. How are y'all?
We're doing great. We're doing great.
And extremely excited to meet you. This is our first time to meet Cody, and we have been listening to Cody's music, and we are absolutely in love. In love.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad somebody is. I appreciate that.
You take most of my repeats on when I'm in the car, so it's just there all the time.
So you're like my kids. That's all they do is sit there and ask to play daddy, and my wife just looks at me and goes, "Really?"
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
We can't get our daughter to listen to the podcast, so.
Yeah.
My kids love y'all's podcast, so.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Good, good trade-off. She loves your music, and yours like our podcast.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So Cody, it's been a hell of a year for you, buddy. You came out with your first, I guess, EP late last year.
January 17th of this year.
Of this year, and then COVID hit, and so you didn't really get to tour the way you'd like to, but your streamings have been going great. You're doing great on the charts and everything. So just kind of tell us a little bit about your journey this year and how that's been for you.
So, actually, I guess I'll back up a little bit because it's not much before this year. But September 27th, I dropped Half Whiskey, Half Lonely, and didn't expect much from it. Didn't know anything about playlisting or Spotify, Apple Music. I knew how to click on it and listen to it, but other than that, didn't know too much about it. It got picked up by a few people. Texas Music Pickers picked it up also, and they kind of put it on their playlist, and we started getting more and more traction. And it was crazy seeing some people. Our first live show, people were coming and singing Half Whiskey, Half Lonely. So I was like, all right, well, maybe we can do this a little bit. So
that was a pretty good feeling, right?
It is. It was weird, but it was cool. I'm getting used to it a little bit, someone now. But
that's one thing. Two things. One of my favorite things about a live music show is when you hear the crowd giving it all back to the artist. And so that's one thing I always like to ask artists is what was the first song that you experienced that on at a live show? And I guess it was Half Whiskey, Half Lonely.
Yeah, it was Half Whiskey. It was a small little bar. I mean, we probably had maybe 50 people in there. But we started playing it. We saved it towards the end. It was the only original we had. And, and later on we dropped the EP in January, and I said, you know what, not enough people listen to Half Whiskey, Half Lonely yet, so I'm going to throw it on there. So technically, I guess it's an album. But, we dropped that, and I recorded that one with Philip Mosley out of Palestine area.
Okay.
And he does all like Colby Cooper and Dylan Wheeler and Blacktop Mojo, all of them. So we jumped in with him, and he did a hell of a job on it. And we this time I knew about playlisting, so I sent Just for the Record off to Spotify, and that's when we really started seeing people know more than one song, not just here in the hometown area, but in other places, driving 8 hours away to Lubbock or whatever.
Well, that's how I discovered you, was Just for the Record on the Texas Music Now Spotify playlist, and was hooked.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, then it was Dying Breed.
Yeah.
And then I didn't get to Half Whiskey, Half Lonely until after that. And then obviously Ice Cold Therapy came out this year, then Armed and Dangerous, then The Truth. And so the way you've been kind of steady dripping your singles, that seems to be a trend in the industry right now.
It's tough because, I'm not a huge fan of just dropping singles, but in order for an artist like myself, and other people have different ideas on this, but for an artist like myself, if I want to take that chance of playlisting, you got to drop it as a single because, Spotify only lets you have one song per album, or if you're dropping singles. And, at that point, too, we had dropped the EP or album at the beginning of the year. I was like, you know what? And we wasn't planning on dropping The Truth this year. But I said, we'll give them 2 more songs. Technically, that's a complete album right there. That's 9 songs. We'll drop The Truth in January, February. And then when we recorded The Truth, it was just one of them songs that I didn't want to cut. And when we finally took it to the studio and I watched it come alive, I was like, you know what? I can't not drop this year. So we'll give them a full 10 songs. Let's see what happens. And I know Armed and Dangerous just got on the Texas Music Now playlist the other day. The Truth hit that new Nashville Spotify playlist. So we've been gaining traction, and then, you know, it's people like y'all, you know, supporting us, and the people out there that come out to the shows. I mean, we can't thank y'all enough that y'all are the voice that gets it out there. So.
Oh, well, we appreciate it, and every single song you put out has been amazing, and I actually kind of like how the singles have been coming out, because we get excited, like, oh, it's coming. So as a fan, on the fans' end, it's been really cool to see that and get really excited about the next one coming.
Right, yeah.
So we've definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So what's next for you in terms of new music?
Me and the manager was actually, that's why I was a little running late here. We stayed at his place last night because we played in Bernie, and that's where he lives. We was standing there in his driveway just talking about that literally before we got over here, and you know, we really don't know, because it's weird, because we dropped what we wanted to drop this year. The 3 singles I dropped over the summer are all completely different sounding, and you know, the Ice Cold Therapy's got kind of more of that wavy honky tonk sound for us. Armed and Dangerous is a rock song. The Truth is more like a Tom Petty, ballad, you know. And so when I was talking to the manager, and I was like, you know what, we need to rope it back in. I got that. I keep getting told I got that Jamie Johnson style voice too, and you know, let's rope it back and let's do a country song, you know. And I think what we're gonna do is another EP. You know, we're discussing it, but we're gonna drop some singles off of it, and then drop an EP, I think, or an album. You never know. So.
Well, that's awesome. We're excited because we've been listening to you nonstop, and it's great.
Yeah.
You make great music.
Well, I appreciate that.
One thing I wanted to ask you, one thing I've noticed in several of your songs, and I don't know the proper music terminology for it, but you have kind of a cadence in your lyrics where it's you know, there's a fire growing with every fireball shot, and my buddy told me don't ever sing on the podcast, so I'm trying to be careful. But there's like a lyric, and you can hear it in the bridge on The Truth, and you can hear it in Armed and Dangerous too, in the chorus.
Yeah.
And is that kind of like, do you know? Am I crazy for noticing that?
I know what you're talking about, because I mean, we was talking about whiskey sponsorships the other day, which we're not sponsored by whiskey yet. So I mean, if y'all know any whiskey brand, but they was talking about, well, would you switch a line and have whiskey have lonely if the whiskey company asks you? I said, I can't. I said, there's a fire growing with every fireball shot. So I love internal rhymes. I mean, that's the cool thing about writing to me. And I was actually writing a song. I'm bad about, I can't write a song with a guitar. It's weird. I write a whole song in my head. I have whiskey have lonely, I did it. Memory in the Dirt Road, I did it. Ice Cold Therapy, I did it. And then I put the guitar chords to it later. So I was writing a song from Bernie this morning here. And same thing, like I was coming up with these cadences, and you know, I guess it's the right proper term. I really don't know. So I'm new to the music industry myself.
I don't know what to call it, but there's something that I've noticed about several of your songs that I love, and it makes it unique.
Yeah.
And I've had a hard time when I tell people about you. I have a hard time, like, well, if you like this, you like this, because you're unique. It's kind of your own thing. I'm like, well, maybe Luke Combs, maybe Jamie Johnson, but I think that's one of the best compliments an artist can get, is that you're unique and you're original.
Yeah, that's what I get. The Asian Luke Combs, the Asian Jamie Johnson, I get the Asian Keith Whitley, I get it all. So when I was welding before, I knew like 3 songs before I got started in this thing, and one of the weld formers I used to work for used to call me Asian Merle all the time. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can hear a little bit of the Merle too.
So you said, you know, this is new. So when did you know that this is something you wanted to pursue? You were in the welding before. When did you actually start picking up the music?
So, well, in case y'all don't know, I was coming down here to Conroe, Texas for a job. Stopped off in Crockett, Texas, and was eating with a buddy of mine that's also a pipeliner. We was sitting there eating, and my waiter goes, man, you don't sound how you look. And I was like, yeah, I know, I get that all the time. And my buddy was sitting there eating, he's like, man, you think that's messed up? You ought to hear this boy sing. And like I said, I knew 3 songs. It was Don't Close Your Eyes, Fishing in the Dark, and Tennessee Whiskey. That was the only 3 I knew on guitar.
Wow.
They asked me, would you get your guitar out and play? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And broke it out. The manager was like, hey, why don't you come back for a show? We'll pay you like $300 and free dinner and free alcohol. I was like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, sure, why not? Got out there, back to my hotel, called her that night. I said, hey, what's this show entail? She goes, well, you got to set up sound, your own sound. I was like, well, don't know how to do that. I don't have sound, but yeah, I'll do that. Then she goes, and it's 4 hours. I was like, well, you do know those were the only 3 songs I knew.
Well, let's repeat them.
Yeah. So the show was 3 weeks out, and I ended up learning cover after cover after cover. Somehow did it without repeating a single song.
Oh, wow.
And we got into the journey, and it's at that point it still was just a hobby. You know, it was just, I never ever expected myself to be on a stage in front of people, ever. And
well, that's crazy to hear, because I don't know if you see it, but you're exploding.
yeah,
You really are, and I think it's faster than what you think.
it is very fast. I'm trying to keep up, because this was last May or June, whenever all this.
Wow.
And then I met my guitar player's brother, Stephen Calloway. He used to have this band called Backseat Molly in the day. And he goes, do you write music? And I said, no. He goes, try it. I was like, dude, I work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I said, I don't have time. He said, just do it. I wrote a song for my daughter, and then I wrote Half Whiskey, Half Lonely was the third one. I sent all 3 of them. He said, let's take Half Whiskey, Half Lonely and see what happens. And that's whenever that show I was telling y'all about, people were singing it back to me. I was like, okay, we can get into this a little bit and see what
That's
happens.
crazy. That's just a crazy good story. I love that story.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to ask you. I know Randall King has been somebody that's really taken you under his wing. We're big fans of his.
Yeah.
I mean, a buddy of mine that plays music some introduced me to him, and I fell in love right off the bat. And that's one of my favorite things about this Texas music scene is the way everybody just embraces everybody and helps everybody out. So I know there's him. Talk about your relationship with him and anybody else that's just really helped you out in the last year.
Yeah, so Randall put out a tweet. He was looking for some new music, and I'm not a tweeter. I'm not a social media person at all. Like last year I had 500, maybe 500 people on my Instagram. Like at this time last August. I just hate social media with a passion. Like I just can't do it. Don't know what to say. Like sometimes I'm just messed up in the head sometimes. I'm like, well, if I tweet this, people may hate me, so I've never, Well, he had posted that, looking for new music. I just tweeted him with my Spotify link. I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Sent it to him. I was like, hey, dude, heard there's this Asian dude trying to spin some country music. You might check him out. It was like 5 minutes later. Well, first, his manager emailed me. And I've been getting some weird emails lately. This fresh in the game, I was like, whatever. I looked at the email and said, hey, we want to look at you. Or he said something about looking at your tour or something like that. And I was like, I don't even have a tour. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I got back on Twitter and Randall had DM'd me. He said, hey, man, my manager's going to hit you up. I was like, oh, crap, that's what that is. I screenshot it, sent it over to my manager. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know, Randall's guys and all that. Yeah, we'll get you set up. And, man, Randall, if you haven't seen a Randall King show yet, he puts on one of the best Texas country music shows out there. And
couldn't agree more.
And on top of that, not just him, from his manager to his, the boys playing for him, to his team, to Randall himself, those guys are the most humble dudes. And they've taught us so much. And I was actually telling Jimmy that they haven't seen us play in, a few months. But we're such a different band now than we was then. And it's a lot of testament to Randall. A lot of the, getting to watch him play, taking notes from his guys. I mean, I can't even keep my guitar player away from his guitar player. They're always just sitting there playing licks and stuff. And, like, y'all are nerds, whatever. But
Best friends! We've made best friends!
yeah.
No, that's awesome. And that's, like I said, I think that's my favorite thing about this whole industry here. So,
But like even Sundance too. Sundance was the first person I ever opened up for.
Oh,
So it's gonna be
that's
cool
great.
getting to see him again today. And he came up to me afterwards. You like fishing? I said, yeah. He goes, you like beer? I said, yeah. He goes, we're gonna be best friends.
Well, we definitely, we've seen Randall King shows, and we knew right off that he had that it factor. And in our one of our podcasts that we talked about you, that's one thing that we said. You have that it factor. You have it. And so
yeah, we gotta try to get him on sometime. He's getting big though. So
He's getting big.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to get I'm learning from him, but I'm really just stealing his moves and stuff.
you've got it. You've got the it factor like he does. So it's awesome. great.
Well, Cody, thank you so much for coming by and talking to us.
Thank y'all for having me.
Good luck today. I can't wait to see you. This is our first time seeing you live.
Yeah.
So we're super excited. We're gonna have to abandon the tent and get a front row Joe.
That's fine. I'll send my merch guy over here. You can watch y'all's tent and ours. And you guys just come up front.
There you go. Thanks, Cody.
Yes, sir.
Guys, this is Cody Hibbard. Check him out at CodyHibbard.com.
Yep.
CodyHibbard.com. Check him out on Spotify, anywhere you can stream music. If you listen to us, I know you know about him because we talk about him all the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Cody.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
y'all again.
Take care.
Yeah.